You did everything right. You went to school, got the job, saved your money, and played by the rules. But every time you open a real estate app, the starter home you could afford 6 months ago is suddenly wildly out of reach. Or worse, sold for cash before you could even schedule a tour. You aren't crazy, and you aren't imagining things. The game is fundamentally rigged. The American dream of homeownership isn't just slipping away naturally, it is being aggressively bought out from under you by the deepest pockets on the planet. For decades, buying a home was the single most reliable way for a regular person to build wealth and secure a spot in the middle class. You bought a house, paid down the mortgage, and eventually had a nest egg. Today, that ladder has been pulled up. You are no longer competing against the young couple down the street or the family moving to a new school district. You are competing against algorithms, limitless capital, and multi-billion-dollar private equity firms. And the biggest player in this game, the firm that wrote the modern playbook on treating your neighborhood like a Wall Street asset class, is Blackstone. To understand how we got here, we have to look back at the wreckage of the 2008 financial crisis. Millions of Americans lost their homes to foreclosure. Neighborhoods were decimated. But where regular families saw financial ruin, Wall Street saw the clearance sale of a lifetime. Private equity firms, led by behemoths like Blackstone, swept into distressed markets and bought up single-family homes by the tens of thousands. They bought them at rock-bottom prices, often directly from the banks, sight unseen. But they didn't flip them. They kept them. They realized something crucial. All those families who lost their homes still needed a place to live. So, the very same financial institutions that contributed to the housing crash turned around and rented those foreclosed and taxed homes back to the American public. It was the birth of a massive, unprecedented industry, the institutional landlord. Fast forward to today, and the scale of this operation is staggering. Companies born from this strategy, like Invitation Homes, which Blackstone founded and eventually took public, own tens of thousands of single-family houses across the country. And they aren't buying mansions. They are laser-focused on the exact same properties you want. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom starter homes in good school districts. They target areas with strong job growth and limited housing supply, like Atlanta, Phoenix, and Charlotte. When a private equity firm decides it wants a house in your target neighborhood, you do not stand a chance. A regular buyer comes armed with an FHA loan, a request for a home inspection, and a plea for the seller to cover closing costs. Wall Street comes with an all-cash offer, waives every single inspection, and routinely bids 10 to 20% over the asking price. They can close in a matter of days. Sellers take the path of least resistance, and the corporate giant gets the keys. Once they own the property, the second phase of the strategy begins. This isn't your mom-and-pop landlord who fixes your sink and cuts you some slack if the rent is a few days late. This is housing completely optimized by algorithms. They use sophisticated software to push rents to the absolute maximum the local market can bear. They bundle the rental income from thousands of these homes into complex financial instruments, selling the steady stream of your rent checks to global investors as bonds. They have essentially financialized the roof over your head. Now, we need to ground this in reality, because it is crucial to understand the whole picture. Blackstone and other institutional investors will quickly point out that they own a very small percentage of the total housing stock in the United States. And statistically, that is true. But that defense is a sleight of hand. They don't buy homes everywhere. They concentrate their buying power in highly specific, fast-growing local markets. In some zip codes in the Sun Belt, corporate investors have accounted for 20, 30, or even 40% of all homes purchased in recent years. When one buyer controls that much of the local supply, they effectively set the market price. They drive up home values, pricing you out of buying, and then they drive up the rent, making it harder for you to save for a down payment. It is a perfect, closed loop of profit. We also have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Wall Street did not create the housing shortage. The United States has a massive, undeniable lack of housing supply. We simply have not built enough homes since 2008 to keep up with population growth. Strict, outdated local zoning laws often make it literally illegal to build the dense, affordable starter homes that first-time buyers desperately need. But private equity firms are not solving this shortage. They are weaponizing it. They saw a broken system and a strictly limited supply of a life-or-death asset, and they decided to corner the market. They are pouring gasoline on a fire that was already burning. They know that shelter isn't a luxury you can just opt out of. It is a captive market. If they own the houses, you have to pay their rent. The long-term impact of this shift is terrifying. We are watching the slow, deliberate transition from a nation of homeowners to a renter nation. When corporate landlords siphon off the starter homes, they aren't just taking away a piece of real estate. They are amputating the primary engine of generational wealth for the working and middle class. The equity that used to pay for college tuition, fund retirements, and provide a safety net for average families is now being diverted into quarterly dividends for institutional buy-down. Shareholders. This isn't just an economic issue. It is a profound cultural shift that strips away the psychological security of owning the walls around you. Young professionals, starting families, and essential workers are being permanently relegated to a perpetual subscription model for basic shelter. To see the damage firsthand, you just have to look at the stories pouring out of these institutionally owned neighborhoods. When a multi-billion-dollar entity swoops in to buy out a subdivision, they aren't just acquiring assets, they are fundamentally altering the fabric of the community. Transiency replaces stability. And what happens when the next generation cannot build equity? We face an incredibly bleak future where wealth inequality is locked in. You can't buy a house because the rules of the game have been rewritten. You are playing Monopoly, but the bank is buying the board before you even get a chance to roll the dice. Understanding exactly how this machine operates and recognizing the faces of the firms that are running it is the only way to begin pushing back.